Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, April 4th, episode 43 in our podcast. Today, we get into a bunch of topics. Number one, breaking news, Julius Randle out for the year for the New York Knicks after sitting out the last 2 months with a shoulder injury. We'll talk about the impact that it has on the New York Knicks currently moving forward. Next, we go to the best team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics. Clinched best record in the NBA last night. What is their ceiling and who can stop them? Hint, hint, it may be themselves. Next, we look at two teams, one being the Knicks and two being Philadelphia, who I think could be threats to Boston. Obviously, that's going to be predicated on the injury front. Next, we'll go to the Western Conference and look at the Denver Nuggets, a team tied for the best record in the Western Conference, and I think is the clear favorite to win the West. But then I'll look at two teams with experience we've talked about before this podcast, and the Clippers and the Suns. What do I see with them, and can they make a serious move? Lastly, we'll preview the two women's games in the Final Four to be played in Cleveland Friday night. First up, NC State versus the undefeated South Carolina, and then we'll cap it off with a huge matchup between UConn and Iowa. And let's get started in today's podcast with the breaking news of Julius Randle being out for the rest of the year. He spent roughly the last 2 months, as Woj reported, after 2 months of rehab and attempt to return to New York Knicks. All-NBA for Julius Randle will undergo season-ending right shoulder surgery. And the Julius Randle had a really great year, folks, shooting at 47.2%. 24 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, and the biggest thing for me with Julius was the 5 assists. And the Julius Randle that when the Knicks were at their peak after the OG Anunoby trade was playing as good or as any team, maybe besides Boston and the NBA. So when you look at this New York Knicks team, what does that mean for them, right? That means that they're going to have to change their lineup, right? We'll talk about a little bit further on what that means in regards to them and how I see them in the Eastern Conference. But for Tibbs, this messes with their depth. What are they going to do? Can they get OG back? If OG has to get back, do you go with Josh Hart as a 4 and then bring Bogdanovich in as a 3 to start? Or do you have, Josh Hart as a 3, play Precious Achiuwa as a 4? There's a lot of questions now with the New York Knicks. Like I said, a New York Knicks team that was playing fantastic basketball and as good as anybody in the NBA. But the other thing to look at, folks, is the deal that Julius Randle has. Julius Randle signed that extension with the Knicks, and I think it's something that it needs to be reminded of. And what does that do for a team like the Knicks, right? If you look at Julius Randle, he looks like that in his contract next year would be the last year, but there's a player option for year 4. So what that means, folks, is Julius Randle now will become primary trade bait, particularly in the offseason. I know that he is loved by Tibbs. I know he is loved by teammates. But based on what New York does Julius Randle, with that $27 million deal for next year, with the player option at 25-26, do they look to move him in the offseason to go get another piece, a 2-guard? There's always been talk about Donovan Mitchell coming to the Knicks. Do they use Randle as a centerpiece to go over to Cleveland? Or do they use it for Karl Anthony Towns, who has always been rumored to be on the move, but not this year because of the way Minnesota's been playing? So that's something to watch out for moving forward after this year is, will Julius Randle be moved at the end of the season into next year? And then the bigger question is, will he even be healthy to start next year? Let's go on and move on to the best team in the NBA. That's the Boston Celtics, folks. I mean, what else can you say about Boston? 60-16 record. Look at their points per game that they score at 121 points per game. Look at their defense. Look at their against the spread. They're 33-1 against the spread. I do believe they have one of the best percentages of covering in the first half. And you really think about these stats, folks, and you think about it is this team is the second best offense in the NBA in points per game, right? They're also fifth best in defense, right? If you look at the fact that they're second in the league in rebounding, I mean, you could kind of go down the pipe here and kind of look at where they are offensively, right? They're top 10 in free throw and field goal shooting percentage. They're number one in the NBA at shooting it from three. They shoot 81% from the foul line, which puts them like sixth or seventh, right? You look at their rebounding per game. They're number two in the NBA, right? And then you start looking at the defensive metrics. Number five in points per game allowed. You look at their defensive field goal percentage. They're number two in the NBA. Defending the three, third in the NBA, right? And then you go to start looking at the differential. Number one in points per game differential. You look at number three in field goal percentage differential, right? You look at shooting the three, number one in three-point shooting differential, right? You look at rebounding, right? They're number four in rebound differential. Folks, they dominate both sides of the ball. And why? Joe Mazzulla's done a hell of a job. Let's just call it what it is. Joe Mazzulla has done a hell of a job with this team. And what I like the most about Joe Mazzulla, I talked about it, is he went and got adults in the room. He went and got Charles Lee. He went and got Sam Cassell on his bench. Two experienced assistant coaches that have been around the block. Got to remember, folks, last year when Joe Mazzulla took over, those were Ime's coaches, right? So a lot of those guys went to Houston with Ime. Joe Mazzulla's got his own staff, and fantastic having Charles Lee and Sam I Am on the staff with him. But folks, I mean, it's bigger than that. I mean, can we talk about Jason Tatum? At 27.2 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, 5 assists, shooting 38% from three, and nearly 47% from the floor. You can't say enough about the play of Jason Tatum. And if you really look at Jason and his stats, right, folks, if you really take a second to really think about this, right? Overall in his career, this is second highest scoring for his career, right? He's shooting it at 47.4%, highest since his rookie year. He's shooting at 38% from three, third highest. The best he shot 40.3% in 1920, right? He's getting you 8.3 rebounds a game. Third straight year, he's giving you 8+ rebounds. 4.9 assists, best of his career, right? 2.5 turnovers, down a half a turnover from last year. So he's been absolutely fantastic. But it's more than Tatum, right? You got to look at Jaylen Brown, the other J in this lineup. And Jaylen Brown give you 23.2 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.6 assists, shooting at 50% from the floor, 36% from three, right? So he's brought it. Points per game down. That's okay. We'll get to that in a second, right? Shooting 50% from the floor, best of his career. 35.8%, tied for second best of his career. Right? Rebounds, down a little bit. Okay. Assists, up. Best of his career. Turnovers, lowest since 1920. So now you got a Jaylen Brown that's more effective. You could go to Drew Holiday and his play coming over, first season in Boston. And everybody talked about the heart and soul of that team, right? Being a player like a Marcus Smart. But Drew Holiday, folks, this season, getting you 12.6 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 5 assists, right? Almost a steal a game, almost a block a game. And if you look at his career, folks, it lines up, right? His scoring is down. But that's okay. His shooting percentage is down. That's okay. His three-point percentage is the best of his career, 43.3%, right? His assists is his career high, right? I'm sorry, his rebounds is his career high. Assists are down. So you've gotten this out of Drew Holiday. If you've got, honestly, folks, I hate to say this. I know you Celtics fans are going to get mad. A better on-ball defender than Marcus Smart. I'll say it. Drew Holiday is the best perimeter defender in the NBA today. Case closed. Don't ask me anything different. But the key to this team has been Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis is playing the best basketball of his career. A Kristaps Porzingis that is getting you 20.4 points per game. I don't care if it's been his lowest since 21-22. It don't matter to me, folks. Why? Because he's bringing you not the toughness, but the ability at 1.9 blocks per game to be a rim protector. A guy that can stretch the floor from three, shooting at 37.1% from three. So to me, it's been the play of Porzingis and also the fifth star. We can't call them the Beatles. What do we call them? The Temptations? Because there's 5 of them. Got to talk about Derek White. Derek White's been fantastic this year. So you look at Derek White this year, getting you 15.4 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 5 assists. So, folks, who is going to stop this team from winning the East? Number one, the biggest problem is going to be themselves. Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Jrue Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford, father time can catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might, but I got to give them their flowers. But if I were going to go with 2 teams that could do it, it's Philadelphia. All right, my fandom here, the Knicks. Right now, Philadelphia's odds to win the East is at 10-1. They were at 12-1 earlier today before the news of Julius Randle. They've moved to 10-1. Knicks were at 12-1 this morning. They're 23-1 now with the news of Julius Randle being out for the year. Right now, Philadelphia sits in 8th. New York sits in 5th. But that East 2 through 8 is really jumbled because Milwaukee's not playing well. Cleveland's not playing well. You have Orlando playing some pretty good basketball. Philadelphia's trying to figure out, we talked about Miami's old, and then obviously you have Indiana. But why do I believe in Philadelphia? JoJo's back. And to me, when the reigning MVP is there, you have to look at Philadelphia as a team that can make a run in the playoffs. But it's been more the play of Joel Embiid. You could look at the play of Tyrese Maxey, who has ascended his game, getting you a 25.6 points per game. You can look at Tobias Harris at 17.2. You can look at Kelly Oubre, arguably the best free agent signing for value. The trade of Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton. You're getting some good production out of campaign as of late. You got Kyle Lowry off of the contract buyout of Miami. But to me, it's all about Joel Embiid. A Joel Embiid that's scoring 35 points per game, 11.1 rebounds, and 5.7 assists. A Joel Embiid, folks, that if you look at his stats, his 35 points per game is a career high. You look at his shooting at 53.1%, second best only to last year. You look at his three-point shooting percentage, better than last year. He's shooting at highest free throw percentage of his career. His rebounds are up 1 from last year. His assists are up nearly 2. So Joel Embiid has been everything. But he's only played 35 games. And that's a concern. But I will say this, as Philadelphia continues down this path and Joel Embiid continues to improve, folks, if they get out of the play-in, watch that number. It may be sliced in half to 5-1. Because I do believe if he is healthy, they are one of 2 teams that could possibly take out the Celtics. And my other's New York. And you're like, wait. Coach, they just lost Julius Randle. How can you sit here and say that after Julius Randle at 24 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, 5 assists, that you still think that they can win it? 23-1. 60-1 to win the NBA championship. You want to know why? If they get OG back. If they get OG Anunoby back, who had the best plus minus out of any player in the NBA when he was with the Knicks, this team could make a run to the finals. And you're like, wait, what? OG's giving you 14.5 points per game, 4.3, 2.3. Folks, his ability to stretch the floor at the corner three spot, his ability to guard you 1 through 4, he's the most, if Drew Holiday is the best defender, OG Anunoby may be the most versatile defender in the NBA. 1 through 4. He can lock you up your best player. But that elbow injury is something serious. But if they get him back, and Jalen Brunson, folks, he will not win it. But tell me a guy right now, maybe besides SGA, maybe you can say Luka, but I wouldn't even bet those two, is more valuable to his team. 27.8 points per game for Jalen Brunson, shooting at 40% from 3, 48% from the floor, 84 from the line, 6.5 assists. This guy has been absolutely the goods for the Knicks. But they're going to need help from other people. Donte DiVincenzo's been outstanding since the trade when he's moved into the starting lineup. And Donte DiVincenzo is getting you 15.2 points per game, has become one of the best three-point shooters in the game because of the ability of Jalen Brunson to drive the ball downhill and get you looks. He is the perfect space guy, just like OG Anunoby is. You can talk about the play of Josh Hart, who's been fantastic. It's kind of a junkyard dog. You can look at Isaiah Hartenstein and what he has brought. They're getting Mitchell Robinson back. But to me, they got to get OG healthy. They got to get something out of Mitchell Robinson. I think I like him off the bench. I think Deuce McBride has been a pleasant surprise, but they need Bogdanovich to be better, and they need Alec Burks to give them something. Malachi Flynn has more points in his last game than Alec Burks has in his last 10. Think about that for a second. But to me, all that being said, best team in the East, it's the Boston Celtics. Let's move on to the Western Conference. And the Denver Nuggets, sitting right now tied for the best record in the West with a 53-23 record, getting you about 114.5 points per game, 29 assists, 33, 39, and 2 against the spread, under 500. Why are they playing this well? I mean, folks, do we even have to go there? Do we have to talk about the greatness of a Nikola Jokic, who's favored to win his third MVP in 4 years, getting you 26.4, 12.3, 9 assists? Quick question. Who leads the NBA in triple-doubles this year? Not Nikola Jokic. It's Domantas Sabonis, if I'm not mistaken. But still a great year. 26.4, 12.3, 9 rebounds, 58% from the floor. Even shooting at 34% from 3. Not his best. But his scoring above his career average. Field goal percentage over his career average. Free throw percentage, right there. Better rebounding, better assists, better blocks. What a performance he's had this year from Nikola Jokic. But if they're going to make this run, it's going to be about the other parts. It's going to be about Jamal Murray. A Jamal Murray that's giving you 20.9 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 6.7 assists. A Jamal Murray that's battled injuries again this year. And at times it could be an absolute stud of a closer. Then you're going to go to MP Jr., Michael Porter Jr., 16.9 points per game. Stretch 4, right? Shooting it from 3 at 40.4%. My thing with Michael Porter Jr. has always been about his rebounds, right? 7.1. It's good. They need him to rebound. And then obviously you could talk about the play of people like Aaron Gordon as their junkyard dog, giving you 13.9 points per game. Reggie Jackson, who's got more of a role this year at 10.2 points per game. KCP at 9.9. And then Christian Brown, who at 7.1 has taken over the role of Bruce Bowen. Good luck going into Mile High City and winning a series. But if there's two teams that can do it, it's the Clippers and the Suns. Like, what? Clippers? Kawhi's hurt now. Yeah, I know. And the sun came out today. So what else is new? We know Kawhi gets hurt. But he's been relatively healthy this year, getting you 23.7 points per game. Right? You can look at Paul George, 22.6. James Harden, it's been good, been terrible. Norman Powell becoming one of the best six men in the league. Zubac giving you nearly a double-double. Let Russ cook coming off the bench. Terrence Mann, junkyard dog. They're one of the deepest teams in the league. And I will say that the Clippers, should they be healthy with Tyronn Lue, who I think is one of the 5 best coaches in the league, they're going to be a threat to win the Western Conference. Even though they are, I think they have the second best odds. I think they're sitting at the 4th seed, if I'm not mistaken, in the West. Yes, they are. Let's go over to the other team in the West I like, and that's Phoenix. I went on today on the early line with my buddies, Donnie Rightside and Ben Stevens, and I said that they are worth a play at 23-1. Call me crazy. You give me Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal healthy, and you can tell me who's got more offensive firepower than those three. You tell me who's got more offensive firepower than them. A Bradley Beal, who, listen, we know. Injuries. I mean, but how about Devin Booker? Oh my gosh. Have y'all seen this heater this boy's been on lately? Have you seen what this guy's done? I mean, Devin Booker is playing like a top 10 player in the league. And remember, folks, I did not have him in my top 10. Devin Booker gave you 27.6 points per game, nearly 7 assists, and has scored 92 points in the last 2 games, shooting a combined over 50% from 2 and from 3, and still giving you 8.5 assists. What the hell is stopping that? Oh, by the way, almost forgot. They got Kevin Durant too. How can I forget about the Slim Reaper at 27.5 points per game? A guy that doesn't have to carry it all offensively night in and night out, which makes him more dangerous. A Kevin Durant whose shooting numbers are down since his time last year with Phoenix in an 8-game run before the playoffs. But a guy that's shooting 42% from 3 is best since 2021 year. Right? Let's give you 6.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists. Can do it all. The key to the Suns is their health. And I'm going to say this, folks. Yusuf Nurkic is going to be a big factor in this. Yusuf Nurkic that's giving you 11.2 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, and one of the best passing bigs in the league, 3.8 assists. If they can stay healthy, if they can get the play out of Yusuf Nurkic, if Grayson Allen, who has been an absolute, and I can't stand Grayson Allen, if he continues to be an absolute stud at 47% from 3, and with the coach of Frank Vogel has a ring, you can't discount the Phoenix Suns at 9.5-1 to win the West and 23-1 to win the NBA championship. Let's end this podcast heading to the women's game with the Final Four. And what a matchup we're going to have. 2 matchups, I should say. For the matchup that isn't getting the respect that it should, let's start off with the first game of the night, 31-6 North Carolina State, with Coach versus Dawn Staley and the undefeated 36-0 South Carolina Gamecocks. A Gamecocks team that graduated a bunch of pros. Cardozo, the 6'8" stud. I mean, granted, she did have to bank that three to win the beat Tennessee in the SEC semifinals, but they score 85.6 points per game. And every game, they've scored 60 plus. NC State allowed 60.3, so it'll be a battle of wills here, right? Can they slow them down, right? And when you look at South Carolina, we talked about Cardozo, right? For Wiley, it's giving you 11.9 points per game, 1.6 steals. And then you go to the other side. Sanaya Rivers. Do you know this name? May want to find out about her. 12.6 points per game, 6.2 rebounds. Right? Kind of the junkyard dog, you would say, of the South Carolina Wolfpack team. But they're more than that. They're about the sum of their parts, right? Leading scorer is James. Getting you 16.7 points per game. Did you see that 27-point piece he dropped on Texas 8? Hitting 7 threes? Or the 29 points he dropped against Stanford? Or the 22 she dropped against Tennessee? See, here's the thing, folks. People are going to start talking about Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers. Don't sleep on this girl from South Carolina. I mean, from NC State, who's absolutely balling right now. The problem is they're playing a South Carolina team that is playing on another level than everybody else. Line is 11.5. South Carolina's had trouble covering spreads. I would not take South Carolina pregame. I would hope that Westmore and North Carolina State keeps this game close at the break. Jump in second half as South Carolina will use their length and their athleticism to pull away and get to the national championship game. And then for the nightcap. I mean, if this is the nightcap, this is the best nightcap you can get. The most polarizing figure in all of college basketball. You know, no, stop. Let me back up. The most polarizing player in all of basketball, Caitlin Clark, versus the most polarizing program and head coach in UConn and the great Gino Auriemma. And what a matchup this is going to be with right now. Minus 150 on the money line for Iowa, plus 125 for UConn. Over under 162.5 line is 2.5 in favor of the Hawkeyes. And when you talk about this game, you got to talk about the star power. You got to talk about Caitlin Clark, who is the best offensive women's basketball player and most explosive that I've ever seen in a women's game. 32 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 9 assists, 38% from three, 46% from the floor, 86% from the line. What a performance she's done and had all year. You want to talk about that 41 piece she dropped on LSU's head? Go ahead. You want to talk about the 9-3 she dropped on their head? Be my guest. But she has been absolutely scintillating and fantastic. And they have to go to the other side. Paige Beckers, who was, as a freshman, the National Player of the Year. Remember that? 2 injury-riddled seasons for Paige. But now she's playing, y'all. 22 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 53.4% from the floor, 41.8% from three. And think about from the Big East tournament final. I'm going to go in this order. Going furthest away. 27-4-3-3. 28-11-7-3. 32-10-6-4. 24-5-1-3. And then against USC, 28-10-6-3. Paige Bueckers is back to being Paige. And I'm going to say something, folks, that's going to make people not happy. Paige Bueckers is a better overall player than Caitlin Clark. If you combine the rebounding and the defense and the steals and the fact that you can put her on your best player on the other team, look at what she did to Juju Watkins in the fourth quarter of that game versus USC. That is not a discredit to Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the best offensive player I have ever seen in women's basketball. And I thought I saw it all when Sabrina Ionescu played at Oregon. And I love Sab. I love watching Stewie play. I love watching Maya Moore play. Right? I love watching Candace Parker play. She's the best I've ever seen. The only person I would think come close to her a little bit, y'all may not know this name. Go look up Shamika Holsclaw that played at Tennessee for Pat Summitt. That's a player I thought offensively can do it all. Caitlin Clark's the best I've ever seen. But to me, the best overall player is Paige Bueckers. Unbelievable matchup. I have said this from the jump. I had a feeling that UConn was going to win the national championship. I said it early in the year when they were losing. I said it when they lost 3 starters to injuries for the year. I said it when they kept getting beat up. And I'm saying it now. I said it before the tournament. I have a feeling that this is the most unlikely team to ever win a national championship for Gino. And I think they find a way to get it done because Paige Bueckers will be the best player on the floor. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 43. For all things sports gambling, go download that Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. Next podcast will be Monday. Now, I can't talk about the national championship game because we're going to drop it on Tuesday. So we'll reset again the NBA board. We'll look at the final week and a half of the regular season. For my producer, Matty George, Vinny does a great job with the graphics. This has been Coach Young. It's a pleasure for you to listen to this podcast. Remember, folks, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.